Hi everyone, I am Dr. K. Sai Prasad Reddy. Welcome to the subject software testing. So in continuation to our course regarding the software testing, today we are going to discuss functional testing. So what do you mean by the functional testing? That is basics of functional testing, and what is a functional testing, and examples of functional testing. So this is very important. See, whichever the session that I am going to cover, all my sessions will be only in the real-time concept only, in the perspective of real-time only, right? So now see, what do you mean by functional testing? So before going to this functional testing, we will have a quick recap about system testing. What do you mean by the system testing? System testing, that is testing the system. That means testing of entire system. Here the system is nothing but a project. So testing the entire project at a time is called system testing. That means during the system testing, software test engineers will validate the system as a whole, entire system. And system testing is a combination of both functional testing and non-functional testing. So both functional testing and non-functional testing are the part of system testing. So who is responsible for system testing? Software test engineers. That means, see, this both the functional testing and the non-functional testing is responsibility of software test engineers, right? Now see here, we will take the functional testing in the system testing. So in the future sessions, I am going to cover non-functional testing, right? Today's topic is functional testing. So what do you mean by the functional testing? Functional testing is nothing but testing the functionality. Testing the functionality is called functional testing. So that means, see, the developers have developed the system functions based on the requirements. Based on the requirements, software developers have developed these functions or the functionalities. Testing of these functionalities is called functional testing. This functional testing is also called as behavior testing. I repeat, this functional testing is also called as behavior testing. So what do you mean by behavior testing? I will explain by taking the examples. And before going to perform this functional testing, the software test engineers should know about the expected results of each and every functionality. If the software test engineer wants to do the test on that particular functionality, then they have to know the expected results. See, the expected results will be always derived from the requirements. This we have already covered in the previous sessions, right? And also, if the software test engineer wants to do that functional testing on that particular functionality, the software test engineers have to do the testing with valid as well as invalid inputs. That means, if any functionality is there, that functionality has to be tested by giving valid inputs and invalid inputs. Both inputs should be there. With the help of these both inputs, the software test engineer is supposed to do the functional testing. If and only if the software test engineers do the functional testing by using the valid input and invalid input, then only that entire functional testing is to be covered. These two steps are very important, right? So before doing any testing on that particular functionality, the software test engineers should know the expected results of that particular functionality, and also they are supposed to do the testing of that particular functionality by using valid inputs and invalid inputs. Right? This is called functional testing. See now, the functional testing is nothing but a black box testing. It is a black box testing because it is a part of a system testing. System testing is nothing but a black box testing. So, as the system testing is a black box testing and the functional testing is a part of the system testing, obviously the functional testing is also a black box testing. So, functional testing is nothing but testing the functionality. So, functional testing is a black box testing. Why it is called as a black box testing? Because during this system testing, that means during the functional testing as well as a non-functional testing. So we will not consider, software test engineers will not bother, the software test engineers will not think, software test engineers will not consider the program's internal structure, that is the code. They won't bother because that is not their responsibility. So as the software test engineers are not considered internal structure of that code for that particular functionality, that is why this is called as a functional testing. Right? Now see here. Testing the functionality is called functional testing. Now what do you mean with the functionality testing? Simple thing. Functionality testing. That is testing the functionality. So what do you mean with the functionality first? Simple thing. The thing which accepts the inputs. For the element which we are giving the inputs is called functionality. So if you take any functionality, this is very important, just pay attention. So for any functionality, we have to give the inputs first. After giving the inputs, then you have to perform the operation on those inputs. After performing the operations on those inputs, you have to check the output, whether we got this output or not. After getting the output, you have to validate that output by comparing with the expected results. This is called functional testing or functionality testing. Right? So, testing of that particular functional is called functionality testing. Or testing of this particular functionality is called functional testing. Right? So, here, what do you mean with the functionality? The element which accepts the inputs. Input or inputs. There may be a single input or there may be more than one input. That means multiple inputs. After giving the inputs, you have to perform the operation on the inputs. After performing the operation, then you have to check the output, whether we got the output or not. After getting the output, you have to validate whether that output is correct or not. Whether that you have to validate, as a software test engineer, we have to validate whether that output is matching with the expected results or not. That means you have to compare that output to the expected results. Clear? So, here, functionality testing is nothing but without concentrating on how the operations are performed by the system internally. We won't bother about the operations because we are not bothered about the code, internal code. Clear? So, these are the 4 steps in the functional testing. Right? Now, we will take examples and we will explain. Now, see here. Functional testing example. Login is a functionality. Listen to me carefully. Login is a functionality. For this login, we know what are the inputs? User ID and password. Say, for instance, we are taking the valid input. Because during the functional testing, the software test engineer has to test that particular functionality by using valid inputs and invalid inputs also. Now, in this example, just I have taken only the valid at present. So what are the inputs for the login functionality? User ID and password. What is the operation that we have to perform on the inputs? Login operation. What is the expected output? What you are expecting after successful login? So successful login and home page should be displayed. Yes or no? So these are the expected output. Excuse me. So the name of the functionality is login. The inputs for the login is user ID and password. Now I am considering only the valid here at present. And the operation, what is the name of the operation? Login operation. And what is the expected output? After entering the valid user ID and valid password, click on the login button. What is the expected output? Login should be successful and home page should be displayed. Right? So the user ID password are the inputs, login is the operation and the actual output. We will get the output. After getting the output, what we are supposed to do? You have to compare the actual output with the expected output. See, what do you mean with the actual output? After successful completion of this particular operation on these inputs, whatever the output that we are getting here, this is called actual output. I repeat, the output after performing the operation, whichever the output that we are getting here, this output is called actual output. See, you have to remember, actual output is the result which will be displayed on the screen. That is the actual output. The results which is displayed on the screen is called actual output. Right? So this is actual output. Now, what is the expected output? Expected output will be derived from the requirements document. That is in the requirements document only. It will not be displayed in the monitor. So actual output is only the output which will be displayed on the monitor. Clear? So now you have to check what is the expected results and what you are expecting and what is the actual. So if the actual output and the expected output are same, then login functionality is said to be working fine. Now it is working properly. If actual output and expected output are mismatching, that is not the same, then there is a defect in the login functionality. This is the example for functional testing. Clear? Next. Second example, delete. Then the name of the functionality is delete. Inputs are just what I am supposed to delete. I wanted to delete the particular mail records from my inbox. That is, in inbox I am having 10 mails. That should be called as mail records. Generally we will call it as mails. So for example, say I am having 10 mails in my inbox. Now I wanted to delete 2 mail records from my inbox. For that, what I am supposed to do? I have to select that particular mails or mail records which I want supposed to be deleted from the inbox. After selecting that mail records, then what you are supposed to do? You have to click on the delete functionality. Yes or no? And what is the expected output? The selected mail records should get deleted successfully from the inbox. This is the expected output. This expected output is derived from the requirements document. Clear? Now, see here, what are the inputs? Inputs are the selected mail records. I have selected 2 mail records. I have selected 2 mail records or mails which are supposed to be deleted from my inbox. And what is the operation here? The name of the operation, delete operation. That means you are performing the operation called delete on these particular inputs. After performing this delete operation on these particular records inputs, you have to check the actual output. After performing the operation, you will get output. Input, operation, output. Right? This is the actual output. So now, finally, compare this actual output with the expected output. If the actual output and expected output are same, then the delete functionality is said to be working fine. If the actual output and expected output are mismatching, not same, then there is a defect in the delete functionality. So what should be the actual output? After successful completion of the delete operation, the selected mail records should get deleted from my inbox. This should be the actual output. Yes or no? Yeah. So during this testing of this delete or login, are we bothered about this code which is designed by the developers? No. Even the code is not visible for us. We won't bother about the code. Right? That is why this is called as a black box testing. Next is save is also a functionality example. The save option will be there in so many applications, like say Word or Excel sheet or MS PowerPoint, in so many other applications also, online applications. Save option will be there. That is called a functionality save. Now I want the name of the functionality is save. I wanted to save the document, say in MS Word or in Excel sheet or in PowerPoint presentation, whichever the document it may be. So, and the operation is save. Input is the document to be saved, which I wanted to save the document. Expected output is document should be saved successfully. The input is a document. We are performing the operation on that document called save, and we are getting the actual output. So after this, what should be the actual output? The document should be saved successfully. Yes or no? The document is saved successfully. So finally, compare the actual output with the expected output. Same. If both the actual output and the expected output are same, then this save functionality is working properly. If not, the save option, there is a defect in the save functionality. Save is also an example for functionality. You are doing testing on this particular functionality. That is why it is called as functional testing. And also say print. Print is also a functionality. So the name of the functionality is print. I wanted to print a particular document, right? And what is the operation? Print. What is the expected output? So after successful completion of this print operation, what you are expecting? The document should be printed successfully, right? So the input is a document and the operation is print, and this is actual output. What should be the actual output? The document should be printed successfully in the printer, right? So compare the actual output with the expected output. If actual output and the expected outputs are same or matching, then it is called working fine. If not, then there is a defect in the print functionality, right? Clear? Yeah. So please subscribe my channel and share my videos to all the students groups, and like my sessions, and please raise your comments in the comment box. Thank you.